Monk is another one of those classes that is popular in tons of other RPGs. In Elder Scrolls, though, it never really gets a chance to come off the ground. As of Oblivion Remastered, though, hand-to-hand has been retooled to access a lot of fun capabilities and be a really cool, competent major skill for your character. In this video today, I want to show you my Monk build and how it is, as I said, a ton of fun to play. In my typical fashion of upfronting the knowledge of my videos, though, let's go through the down and dirty of what this entire build is. The specialization, you can see right here, is going to be combat. We're going to follow with the favored attributes of strength because that's the primary mode of damage for our hand-to-hand, and endurance because it's going to increase our health pool. For major skills, we're going to go armor, block, hand-to-hand. Light armor is my choice, but you can go heavy armor if you so wish, especially since we're going to have tons of strength. And then restoration and sneak. Restoration is going to give us tons of absorb spells as well as heal spells. So we'll be able to absorb health, fatigue, magicka, not having to worry about that as much. And sneak allows us to do 3x damage to things when we sneak up and punch them in the back of the head. Now, the wild card choice here is illusion. I've gone with illusion so I can do invisible, chameleon, all sorts of fun stuff like frenzy and rally, all those kind of things. But you could definitely go with destruction. I'll go through why I didn't choose destruction because it's just so much easier to level up. That's why I didn't choose it. But in the skill section, I'll go through that a little bit more. But that is the too long didn't watch this entire video. If that's all you wanted to know, then please feel free to shut the video down. I want to be respectful of your time. Before you head out, if the information in this video ends up helping you, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, as each one of those things does help me out in a huge way. You can jump ahead to any part of this video that interests you the most using the chapters with the timeline and the description. And also you can check me out on Twitch, where I'll be streaming this game, Doom, Dune, all the fun stuff that is coming out, linked in the description and the pinned comment. Well, let's get started here on my ultimate Monk build for Oblivion Remastered. Loading into the game, let's talk about one of the most important things, and it is your race selection. So the one I actually recommend, usually I say, hey, choose whatever you want. The reason I like Khajiit as the primary focus here is that it's going to give us access to hand-to-hand at plus 15 points. This is the most hand-to-hand that you get from any character, as far as the race selection goes. And then when it comes to your origin, I would actually not choose Palatine because it removes your strength by 10. But Anaquina, of course, is going to remove your endurance by 10. So there is that trade-off. You're going to have plenty of agility, though, which is going to be kind of cool. So you just kind of know that that's the trade-off here. But I like having that plus 10 to hand-to-hand. Some other options, though, are Argonians, who also have plus 5 to hand-to-hand. And they have a pretty good stat spread as well. But of course, don't worry too much about the attributes because you're going to be buffing them as you see fit. And I would probably go with Thornmarsh, maybe over Arnesia. And then another option here is Imperial, which is also pretty cool and thematic because they get a plus 5 to hand as well. This is going to allow you to also take the advantage of all the attributes that the Imperials have. They have plenty of charm spells. Well, they have a bound charm spell, and they also get some skill with heavy armor. So if you wanted to go the heavy armor route with your armor choice, you can go with that. But also looking too at what you get when you go with the what the hell is it called? The Imperial, Jesus. You get the heavy armor, you'll get hand-to-hand, and if we scroll down, you'll also get mercantile and speechcraft. Looking back at the Khajiit, of course, too, to get security and sneak, which are in the build as well as light armor, acrobatics, and the hand-to-hand. So you have got all that going for you, which is stuff that's built into the build. And Argonian too will have alchemy, mysticism, and then security. But please choose whatever race you actually want to. This is a single-player narrative game. There's no reason to really drill down on this, and I'm going to explain why it's important, but at a later point. But you really want to get your hand-to-hand to 50 as fast as possible. So when you start with a character that gives you a nice plus 15, plus the 20 that you're going to get when you nominate it as your major skill, plus the 5 you get for the specialization, that puts you at 40. You're closer to 50, which is perfect because 50 is when your hands basically do magic damage. That allow you to do damage to corporeal things that have full physical resistance. So we'd want to get to that 50 as fast as possible, and choosing something like, let's just say, the High Elf, which has a hand-to-hand only of a plus 5. Plus 5 plus a 20 plus the 5, that only puts you at 30. So you're not, I'm sorry, that's a High Elf, that's a Dark Elf. It's not going to be too big of an issue because by the time you encounter anything that is incorporeal, that is going to be hard to hit, it's just you want to make sure you're at 50, but you'll probably be able to train your way there or what have you. I just wanted to be pretty transparent about why I chose these 3 races, because they have just a little bit of a leg up when it comes to getting your hand-to-hand to 50 faster. And they're also kind of unique options. Khajiit are also pretty fun in general as well. They can also just see in the dark, which is a cool capability. But those are your race selections. As always, a single-player narrative game, so have fun, choose whatever you want. Let's go into how the class is built. After having gone through the process of choosing our race, let's talk about the specialization in our attributes. So I'm going to be choosing combat as the specialization here. For that specialization, it gets a +5 level bonus, and it also allows for all 7 skills that correspond to that specialization. Remember, there's 7 skills per specialization to level up faster. I've already spoken about it, but just to say it one more time, or again, I'm going to probably say it multiple times in this video. Hand-to-hand leveling quickly is very crucial. It's why we chose the race selections that we chose for this build, so it's what I recommend here. And also it just makes it's easier to push through all of our armor ranks, so armor doesn't impede us as much as possible, right? Or as slow as possible. It impedes us less, faster. So moving into attributes here, I've got strength and endurance as my focus. Strength is, of course, how we're going to be doing our primary damage, and your bare hands for that damage. It also is going to allow us to carry more, and also it will slightly increase our max health. Endurance will further increase our max health and allow us to regenerate. A wildcard pick, or at least a pick you could choose outside of endurance, is instead willpower, as that is the 3rd and most important of our attributes to focus on, because this gives us the ability to increase our max fatigue. Regenerating magicka is always nice, but we want that max fatigue increase more than anything. Agility can be fun because it slightly increases your max fatigue as well and defines how quickly you regenerate your fatigue. So those things do all play together. Speed is nice just for general speed around the battlefield, and intelligence is good for magicka, depending on how many major skills you pull into this that are magic related, if you want to just use this as a blueprint. Now, as far as our skills go, and on that blueprint notion, as I say many times in my videos, please use this as a inspiration rather than a set guide of how to build this character out. I want you to feel like you can say, hey, you know what? I like the direction of hand-to-hand and restoration here, but I'm not going to choose illusion. I'm going to choose mysticism or whatever it is. Just use this as a general kind of blueprint to approach the game rather than, dogma. So for combat, I've gone with Armorer because what I want from Armorer is the ability to restore or repair my armor. I don't have to worry about weapons, right? Because my hands are the weapons, brother. So we can just have a little fun with this and help increase the max efficiency. You don't necessarily need to take this. It's just nice to have it leveling quicker. I think a lot of people look at stuff like Armorer and go, well, you level it so quick anyway, why take it? If you really think you're going to be playing this character through all the big major releases that are coming out in the next month or two, and it's not going to distract you from the character and you're actually going to get it to the max level, then yeah, maybe don't take it. But always build these things with the mindset of have your job easier earlier so you can enjoy the game longer rather than waiting to a point that you might not possibly get to because of just, all the distractions that gamers have nowadays. I can barely play this game. But block. So this affects how much damage you mitigate when blocking an attack. There are 3 modes of blocking, right? With a shield, with a weapon, or with your fists. Now, you can block with your fists in this game. The UESP wiki says you can only do it with bare hands, but it looks like Oblivion Remastered has changed it so that you can actually just straight up block with your bare hands against even someone who is using a weapon. Previously, it used to only be against unarmed targets that you would take advantage of this. But we also have the ability to disarm things. So we can take advantage of both forms of this calculation, even if you were to play this in vanilla Oblivion. So it's not a wasted ability. And you absorb, you block 0.25% of damage, each point of damage based off of your block, versus a shield is 1%. So you're getting a quarter of the damage blocked, but you still can block with block. Next up is, of course, hand-to-hand. It's the most important skill in this entire build because we are a hand-to-hand monk build. For stealth skills, we're going to go with light armor. Again, you could go with heavy armor if you so wish, just to increase your armor up faster. I wanted light armor because I wanted to choose the light armor choices, and it's nice to be nimble faster in the game, for me personally. Sneak, while not compulsory, it's nice to be able to just punch someone in the back of the head and do 3x damage and murk them completely. So that is a fun option there, and it's just kind of fits the overall scope of how I wanted to play this build. For magic, I've gone with restoration. It's really important because this restores, fortify, and absorbs attributes. So you can absorb health, fortify health, and restore health, or fatigue, or magicka. It's super important and it's really cool. And if you think about it from like a D&D perspective, using this and destruction is not too far off of a lot of D&D style of monks. And that's kind of what I've tried to model this after. Curing diseases and improving resistances are also really nice portions of the restoration line. Now, I've gone with illusion because I wanted to take advantage of stuff like invisibility and chameleon and rally and all the cool stuff that illusion can do. But destruction would be another really good capability here, right? Like you kind of think of something like, oh, I'm doing like a resonance strike with my destruction things and I'm just going to use damage, like drain health, whatever it is. Like you can do a lot of different stuff here. And that's great, but I find that leveling destruction of all the magic schools is one of the easiest. I mean, restoration and alteration are also very damn easy. But I think that for destruction, getting access to the higher level skills quicker wasn't as important to me as restoration and illusion. Illusion particularly I find to not be as easy to level up. Of course, you can cheese these things and level them all up very quickly doing very specific things. I'm not trying to talk about that or play like that. You definitely can. Please feel free to. So those are the decisions I've gone with the skills. You can swap off illusion for anything. Even if you wanted to add just marksman into this build, which would be really cool. You shoot things with bow and arrow. The game's monk is actually a stealth archer that uses hand-to-hand, the set class. So there's something to consider with that if you so wish. Well, like I said, swap out illusion for destruction. Mysticism is cool here too, to absorb magic and reflect damage as well. I almost went with mysticism instead of illusion, but I really liked the illusion counterpart here because you're going to use mysticism stuff anyway for binding souls for all of your magic weapons and items. Well, magic armor, right? So those are our skills. Let's jump into some other facts. Birthsign options here can be a lot of fun. Warrior is a good one here because it fortifies the 2 attributes that we started with as a focus for this build. You could even go with Thief if you wanted for speed and agility. Remember that agility is going to help out with regenerating that fatigue. Luck is there because, you know, if you want to focus into luck, you definitely can. I actually really like the Lord for this because it increases my armor rating by 15, and I'm going with light armor, so this gets me closer to that 75% cap. Also, I just get increased magic resistance by 15, just a flat 15% magic resistance is really cool. And another one that plays very well into this is the Atronach. Even though we're not really worried about casting with magicka as much, it is a part of this build, but it's not the primary focus. Right? We're not a wizard, Harry. But I'm definitely going to be casting touch spells with this build. And I think the Atronach brings in 150 hit points or 150 magicka points, and also the ability to absorb magicka, which for some reason feels very thematic to me when it comes to a monk. Using some sort of key ability to absorb it from a D&D perspective, I don't really know, but it really felt really cool to me. So that is a really fun option, I think. If I were to just choose like, hey, here's the 3 I would recommend. It's Lord, Atronach, and Warrior. Bounce somewhere between those 3 to really find one that fits the overall feel of what you want. Do you want more damage up front and more health? Do you want better defense up front? Or do you want the ability to really play around with magicka and have a 50% chance to absorb spells, which is present the entirety of your playthrough? That's a really fun capability. So taking a look at the hand-to-hand skill, now that we've looked about how to build this out, I just want you to see where these big break points happen. So Apprentice, your power attack to deal more damage and you recoil armed opponents when blocking. That's really huge. It gives you just tons of room to just open up a flurry of blows on things. Journeyman, your power attacks have a chance to disarm your opponents, and then your attacks can hit creatures immune to physical damage. So Journeyman is the most important one that we want to get to because this allows us to deal damage to anything that is incorporeal. So ghosts, will-o-wisps, we want to make sure we can hit them, and this is what enables it. And you'll be able to get to 50 very quick if you start at 40. It's just going to take you longer if you start at 30. Beyond that, we have your attacks deal more damage, more fatigue damage, and your attacks deal even more fatigue damage. So you'll find at Expert and Master, you're going to be knocking things down before you actually kill them. And it's a really fun mechanic that allows you to just basically blitz through someone's fatigue. And remember too, you use destruction or restoration. Destruction, you can just do damage to their fatigue, but you can use restoration to absorb their fatigue, pull it from their character, and give it to yourself, so you can just keep unloading a flurry of blows on things. So there's a lot of really fun things to be done with hand-to-hand, but it's knowing that 50 is the point that you need to get to, so the rest of the game can kind of unlock for you. When it comes to leveling this character up, there are 3 things that we're going to focus on primarily. Are our strength, because remember that's where all of our damage comes from when it comes to being unarmed. And then we're also going to focus on 2 other things: willpower and endurance. Endurance is our capability to increase our, of course, max health. And then willpower increases our fatigue, but also our magicka regeneration. So since we're not really focusing primarily on magicka, this is a great way to keep our magicka topped off, but it helps out with increasing our fatigue so that we can keep throwing punch after punch after punch with this character. Outside of that, though, you can go into stuff like speed or agility. They do have their benefits. Intelligence is also great just to increase your total max amount of magicka, but you definitely want to make sure that strength, willpower, and endurance aren't left behind. They're your 3 primary stats, I would say, with this build, because we're so reliant on the strength for our damage, willpower for our fatigue generation, and endurance for our health. Jumping in real quick to some spells that are going to be quite good for this build, you have something like damage fatigue, right? And this is just a very early entry level destruction spell, and using this is going to be great because then you can just go ahead and knock things over. If their fatigue's all the way at 0, they fall over. Disintegrate armor is really good, and that's in the destruction section. So you can see that, and drain agility, drain endurance, all that stuff is always really fun. But we're also taking a look at the absorb. I spelt it wrong. The restoration line, right? So we'll be able to absorb attributes, but absorbing fatigue is going to be huge, and health. You start off with absorb health when you choose restoration. So this is a great way to give you just a quick heal. And as we progress through the restoration tree, we get to have more and more fun with that, right? Curing paralysis, curing poison, fortifying our endurance, fortifying a skill specifically. You can fortify your hand-to-hand, right? You'll find weapons that do that too, but fortifying your strength. So that's why restoration's the biggest focus here, because it directly plays into how this character plays and how the build focuses on doing damage. We can fortify all the abilities that we're using already. We can absorb all of the what's called fatigue and health that we need. We're just straight up restore our own health. So there's lots of really cool and fun ways that we can really interact with the game. And restoration for me felt like a cool way to tap into D&D's version of key points to do certain things that were, good for your character. And that just, again, lent itself to it. Illusion, like I said too, chameleon. Illusion gets you, your charm abilities, your chameleon, your frenzy, your rally, your invisibility, which all play very well into how this character works. So you could even do something really cool, like go make a custom spell that does drain fatigue or absorb fatigue and then cast invisibility on yourself. So you walk up to someone, punch them, cast that spell, it's going to absorb or drain that fatigue and then makes you invisible, and you punch them again. And I mean, I think that the punch again is not going to be a sneak attack, but the point is you'll have done so much damage and probably drain fatigue that they'll probably be dead outright, or they might be on the way to just falling over with the next punch. So you can see that there's a lot of fun and interplay that you can have with making yourself invisible and playing with a lot of these cool things. So here we have the build. I'm going to show you just a bunch of clips of me punching my way through Vilverin. And this is the build on a very low level, quite literally a low level. I think I'm 2 and 3 in these clips, and you can see how fun it is to just punch your way through stuff. I've gone ahead and gone to the Kvatch and had some fun there, and went some other places with this build. I don't want to show too much because I'm trying to do as little spoilers in my videos as possible, but the build maintains its usefulness. What was a big problem before is that you would just do the fatigue damage and you wouldn't really be able to block, and you wouldn't be able to do so much. But now with Oblivion Remastered, we're doing health damage, we're doing fatigue damage, we can block with our fists against things that have weapons and recoil them and do less damage. It used to be that you'd be able to do all those things, but it wouldn't do less damage. And you can see me blocking plenty of times in these clips. But I didn't think this was going to be a fun build. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, I'll try hand-to-hand. I was reading up tons about it too, because I thought that it was going to play just like OG Oblivion, which just didn't feel great. One of the biggest things is that they made it so at 50, your hands can damage incorporeal things. That's really big. It was a big letdown before. And being able to basically like throw a 3-piece at things, like a 3-piece combo every so often, was really cool. It was really fun. I just completely flew a flurry of blows at things, or go for a power attack while stealthed and completely kill something outright. I didn't think it would be as fun as it is, and it has been super rewarding. And I think too, it's a very unique way to play, because you are jumping up close and personal. You are trying to hinge more upon the touch spells in a way that's kind of reminiscent to a spell sword or battle mage, but not so, right? Because you're not relying on the block of your shield, you're not relying on the damage of your sword. You're just throwing hands, and it's really funny too at the same time, because the punching almost kind of sounds like you're watching a dubbed over foreign film that's like, you know, like a 1980s martial arts movie. It's just so good. So here's the monk build. There's plenty of ways you can approach this and change this up. Plenty of different attributes or skill choices you can go with, but this is the way that I've decided to go with it. So go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Would you change certain things? Would you do this a different way? Have you made a very successful monk and this is how you did it? One thing I will say, I thought that this thing was like going to be the wrecker of worlds. I did change it to master difficulty to try this build as is, and I just don't think I'm smart enough in the game to really understand how to make it work. I was just completely donkey punched. So if you know a real good way to make master monk work, by all means let me know. Maybe you need to rely on conjuration until your hand-to-hand gets better, but that was definitely a shortcoming I found of this build. It was not serviceable to me in master, but I am not even serviceable to myself in master. I'm not the best player in the world, so take that with a grain of salt. Maybe you can make it work when I can't. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.